So that's the end of the presentation, and we would like to take any kind of questions you may have and answer those.
Thank you, Keith. We'll go to the questions, the chat function. So anyone, if you've got your questions, please type them in the chat function. We have one question that's just come in. It says, has fiber optic monitoring been used, or can it be used for acoustic monitoring of cables within a post-tensioned box girder bridge that has already been constructed?
Yes, there are acoustical systems that are optics. They can do basically the same thing as AE sensors, but it's much easier to control and calibrate.
Okay, another question is, do you set up all the equipment necessary to install your system?
Yes, it's a turnkey. Everything that I have shown you, well, every job we've done at this point has been turnkey. So we do all the installation, we do all the programming, we set up all the SQL databases, whether it be servers or cloud-based or standalone systems. We do everything from A to Z.
I would add that for a small bridge project, we can train people as well to use the handheld devices.
Yes, because we do, as John said, we do train DOTs to maintenance the systems. Some have chose to do that, some have not. Some just want a support contract. So it depends on the client, but we're willing to work with them, as John had said, even if it's to the point of training them to maintain the system properly.
Do you charge a monthly fee for the rental of equipment and data logging?
No. Everyone up to this point has just purchased the data loggers and all of the equipment necessary for the structural health monitoring system.
Okay, what if there's maintenance required or like a change? Is that something that's like a separate contract, or is there a way to purchase assistance throughout, say, the course of a project?
Sure, absolutely. We do that currently, where there can just be an hourly rate and a deployment cost. But other than that, we can assist in that manner. But most of these systems, I should have said this earlier about the equipment, is they have a 20-year life from the day they're purchased. And then there's warranties that can go that entire period of time if they're purchased that way. And so longevity with optical equipment is one of the very high advantages on the list.
A lot of the equipment and sensors that you showed were very specialized. Do you have off-the-shelf sensors and equipment that you could use, say, if something came up like an emergency bridge, some damage, if there was a bridge that was not currently instrumented and there was some damage to it or an impact or something, would you be able to use equipment off the shelf and instrument that bridge? And if so, how quickly would you be able to respond to something like that?
And that's a really good question. When you looked at the optical sensors I was showing earlier, they're all on-the-shelf type items. So CEL builds, certain types of sensors, and it was meant that they weren't special, but they were just put on the market because they didn't exist. So all of the items that I was mentioning are off the shelf, but from the supplier, there might be a 2-week lead time to gather those sensors or those instruments. And as far as deployment, then you know, within a 2-week period, we could be on site installing these systems, even for temporary applications is not a problem.
I would say that may be a max. We could certainly customize an application or a service agreement where we would keep some things in stock and be a little bit more rapid deployment than that.
Okay, that's something that I know. In some cases, I mean, there's a bridge that, you know, exhibits distress, and, you know, the client is very eager to know what's going on and to be able to monitor it so the bridge can reopen. And if the client knows that, hey, we can keep the bridge open because we've got sensors on it, you know, in some cases that's really important to a client to be able to reopen something right away.
Sure, time is always important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some of the lead time with not just, you know, anybody's sensors is just how fast we can get them from the manufacturer, which they usually give us like a 2-week lead time. But like John said, we can keep things on the shelf so that it doesn't occur, to be more responsive.
Have you guys ever done an application where you used your sensors to monitor corrosion of pre-stressed strands in, say, a box beam or a slab beam bridge?
We have not done that as of yet, no. As far as corrosion goes for strands like that or pre-tensioning cables.
Okay. Another question is, if movement is being monitored, are there any limitations to how much a structure may move for the sensors to read data properly?
Yeah, on normal applications where it's just on a beam, absolutely. You know, you can get plus or minus 2,500 microstrains up to plus or minus 5,000 microstrains. When it comes to displacements, the longest, you know, like expansion joints, the longest displacements, like I was showing, we've done up to 18 inches, but we can do even longer than that. So from all the criteria that we've been given for almost any structure, we've always met the parameters from a spec standpoint of what's required.
Okay. If there's any further questions, at this time, please send them to me, and I will forward them to John and Keith. But at this time, I'd like to say thank you to them for putting together this presentation. An incredible amount of very valuable information. The graphics, the videos, those are all of high quality, and the interface, I think the interface is incredible that you have showing sensors and the readouts. I know from my previous experience with doing experimental mechanics, we didn't always have such nice interfaces for being able to understand stress and strain at the locations that the sensors are reporting. So the interface is incredible, and I really want to thank you guys for putting together this presentation. Also, John and Keith's contact information, we will also make that available, as well as this recorded webinar will be on the SharePoint site. But I would like to thank John and Keith for taking the time to put this together and to share this with us this afternoon for our bridge webinar.
You're entirely welcome.
Thank you, everybody. It's our pleasure.
All right. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, you too.